Podcast Quest, and here with another edition of The Word Up. It's a weekly League of Legends, a collegiate League of Legends specifically show, where we talk about collegiate League of Legends, obviously, and I gather all the information throughout the week, condense it into a 30-minute show on Friday, 6 p.m. Daylight Time. Thank you for being here. I am here actually today. I also have a guest. First off, first 15 minutes of the show, do have a guest. I try to get usually support staff. I've had a couple players on here as well, but usually try to get support staff, coaches, managers, things like that. Analysts are also good as well. But this week, I do have a coach from the Eastern Conference, first one from the Eastern Conference, giving some representation over there. Talked about it before the show too. Is I haven't spread out quite as much as I feel like I should have, but trying to rectify that a little bit. He is in the finals right now from the University of Ottawa. This is going to be Trent Schwartz. Thank you for being on the show, man. Welcome.
No problem. Thank you for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So, again, talk to you before the show a little bit. This is your first year coaching. Last
Yep.
year, University of Ottawa, they made it to the lead, made the quarterfinals, dropping to, I believe, what is it? Dropping to, I believe, Carnegie. No, it was New York University. I think we were talking about. But
Yep.
this year, you've gotten through quite a few big teams from the Eastern Conference, or traditional Eastern teams like Waterloo and Carnegie Mellon. So, coming into the first year of coaching, what do you do to improve from last year to this year, not really having much of a base or rapport with the current team?
Well, what we mainly did to improve on the team was we wanted to put a lot of time into scouting and preparing for matches because last year, from our returning players, our mid laner, Open Backpack, and our jungler, Harry Sixpack, there wasn't a lot of prep done for the games. So what we've done now is we'll scout the teams like quite heavily through their other previous games in the season, their OP.GGs, or even asking around the community to see what they're playing. And a big part of that prep is because the players can't do that. And when the players can't prep, they're kind of going into that game without that knowledge of knowing, hey, this is the style they'll play and this is how we counter that style, or this is how they'll play around our style. So when we do that, it allows them to have a lot more knowledge. And when you have that knowledge in game, you can focus on your mechanics a lot more and less on the macro and have one person focus on that area.
So, bringing in new people, I mean, you had two people from last year. Have there been any sort of adjustments? I mean, you have the mainstays every now and then. You do get teams where they have a groove, and bringing in new members kind of disrupt that groove. You found any of that on Ottawa, or has it been pretty
Um,
pretty easy?
Maybe in the beginning of the year we had like we didn't have the greatest synergy, but we like scrimmed quite often, and that synergy started to build. We know how we all play, so it just flows. We've now got a certain play style that we like and that we scrim constantly with, and we trust certain players to make certain calls. And when that person makes that call, we'll follow that call. So, like the synergy and following through, we really haven't had that many disfluencies with the team, like second guessing stuff and going, that doesn't sound like the greatest, and then not being able to execute on a call and getting engaged on and potentially losing the fight.
That seems to be going well so far for you. Again, you're in the finals. That means that you are guaranteed post playoffs. That's got to be really exciting. It's the first time
Oh
CSL
yeah,
has been able to do that. Uh,
yeah, it's really nice.
Obviously, you want to go right into the championship play and beat Western Purple, but of course you have to get through them. Um, in this scenario, like what do you do? Like how do you prep for this? Given that for a fact you're going past playoffs, what do you do? How do you prep if like just kind of mentally prepping your team, saying, hey, even if we lose, we're still going to the play-ins. How do you get through that roadblock? Obviously, you still want to win, but release the pressure off of the finals.
Alright, so pretty much how we're just doing it is we're just looking at the game ahead of us. We don't want to think too far ahead of us. We're like, hey, guys, we've come this far. We're not going to lose here. But even if we lose, we still have that second chance. But we don't think about that. We think of this as like a do or die game. Because when you think of that, there might be more pressure, but that brings out the best in people. Playing any kind of sport, when you know everything is on the line, you're going to put everything out on that field, on that game that you're playing, or the series as it is. Now, especially with like we've been scrimming for so long, we know we've put in the hours and we know we can win. We know we have that potential and skill to
Hmm.
win this all and go to LA, as I've said in a CSL article that got posted a couple days.
Yeah, I think it was pretty sure it was Coach's Corner. Yeah,
Yeah, it was coach's coder for the
yeah.
semis,
Which
so we
if
are
even
coming to
okay,
LA.
so that is something for anybody who's watching. If I don't cover any of the conferences that you want, more likely there's an article that does that. So CSL, we try our best to cover everything, but we're only so
Yeah, I've been
busy.
getting covered a lot of late.
Yeah, well, making it to the finals does that. So congratulations once again. Um,
Thank you.
Now, one of the things, let's talk about the finals last year and then finals compared to this year. So we even talked about it a little bit. Toronto, they were a big team last year, looking to go actually to championships and possibly win it. Of course, Maryville University had something to say about that. But
Yeah.
this year, a lot of the most of the University of Toronto roster got drafted to FlyQuest Academy, that including their coach Invert. Do you feel like as a result, the Eastern Conference is a more competitive region because there's that huge power vacuum now?
I say yes and no. It's become more competitive. Like yes, in the stance that like a huge team is gone and they aren't there to always just completely bulldoze over everyone and just win it all constantly. And there's always going to be that second place team. And yes, in the sense that since that powerhouse is gone, there's a lot of other teams that can step up and show, hey, we're the new kings of this region. And with that being Western Purple and University of Ottawa now stepping up to show that, hey, we're there. We're going to show them. We're going to win this.
Okay, my mic might be a little bit louder now. I don't know if you noticed that or not, but I had some mic issues there. But going in, so you said you're going to win this anyways. I mean, yeah, it does create a nice, yeah, it does create a power vacuum. But one thing I want to know is like going into the finals, what do you think of Western Purple? Because both these teams, Ottawa and Western Purple from London, Ontario, for anyone who doesn't know what Western Purple is from, what are your opinions on Western Purple? Because again, there's not that much coverage on the East Conference. A lot of it was from last year,
Yeah.
and so far, from my understanding, it's actually only been was it Toronto, New York University. What is your opinion going into Western Purple?
Well, my opinion on Western is like we knew we were going to face them in the finals. There's no surprise there for us. We kind of pegged at the beginning of the season, running down all the teams. It was going to be us versus Western in the final. I think they're a great team. There's no doubt about that since they were the first seed and they've made it to the finals too. So it's going to be a great series, no doubt about that. And what I do have is they have their weaknesses from the VODs that I've seen. That if you can punish their weaknesses, they fall hard, and there's no doubt they start to panic when they have their weaknesses pushed. I don't want to say them so they
Sure.
know about them, but
No,
yeah, like
yeah, of
when you
course.
push their weaknesses, they struggled. You could see that in the New York games when in the games they lost or where
Hmm.
they started to fall behind, they started to struggle. And like they're strong mechanically. There's no doubt about that. They have very high ranked players on the ladder, so a lot of the time they use their mechanics to their advantage to try to push their advantage very very hard. So like they're a great team, no doubt about it. But they're not better than us.
um, as far as like support staff, are you the only one looking at these VODs, analyzing them, things like that, or do you have an analyst? 'Cause I know you're the
Um,
coach. But do you have a support staff with you?
Technically, I am like the coach analyst, but we do have another one. He couldn't like he wanted to do this, but he couldn't be here.
Sure.
But like, yes, he does help me out with stuff. He like we'll run stuff by each other, say, hey, does this sound correct? Or like, what did you think about this area of this VOD? And we'll go over it and see what it is, and then we'll run it by the players, especially well, our jungler. We run stuff by him a lot too, because like he's very knowledgeable of the game. He's played a bit of academy too. I think he played with Team Liquid Academy for a tiny bit.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
But it's like, yeah, like there's a lot of time that we work together, but like a majority of the time it's gonna be like me and him just doing a load of the work, getting it all together.
And so, excuse my geography. I'm not really sure how big Ottawa is. Is there a pool of talent there that you can recruit from? Some like University of British Columbia. I know they are a huge school. Is that kind of the similar to Ottawa? Because you're, if I'm not if I'm not mistaken, the capital of like you're the capital, right?
Yeah, we're the capital.
So yeah,
What I would say is I wouldn't say they're like a huge pool, but like there's definitely great players here. Like when we go down to our Division B team, like it's still high ranked. It's like I think it's D3 to D5 players, but it's like nothing like outstanding. Like when you see Columbia Colleges, like I think JV team who's like still all like Diamond One Masters.
yeah,
But
right.
it's like, yeah, we do have that pool. Like our team isn't just all from Ottawa. We have, I think, like we have some people that's from out of province, which is nice to see. But it's like we do have players that if we need to fall back onto, we can. So it's like it's not like we're very limited in things,
And
but not as much as we'd like.
does the school back you in any sort of way?
Oh
Any
no,
reason?
not at all. Not at all. We've tried and tried again. But like we like they just don't support us. They don't see like how it'd be an asset to the school, and we can understand that since it's a relatively new thing, esports. And a way that I've kind of been trying to proxy esports into myself into the school is with my presentations or other courses, I'll bring up esports and show the potential that it has and everything. But we've been trying, and our biggest thing we want to do is we want to take this all so then we can come back to the university and say, hey, we have accomplishments with us. So they'll say, okay, this is a great asset to the school, and this is something we could invest into with the students and all that.
Yeah, and that's something I like to ask every school because that sort of thing is very important for the future growth of esports, collegiate esports, because and that's one of the reasons why the North and the West, well, especially the North, have so many good stories
Oh yeah,
because there's so many different collegiate esports scholarships going out there that they're actually able to recruit some of the best. That's why Columbia College and Maryville look great this year and it looked great last year too. Now, with that being said, University of British Columbia, they've done it 2 times in a row without scholarships, but they with those championships. I'm actually told Carmen, I think I believe she's the manager of that team. Really, which was the manager of that team from University of British Columbia. They're actually looking to get. I think UBC are going to get scholarships next year. So I really hope that sparks a fire in all the other schools around the country for
yeah.
Canada.
It's a lot of the nice thing is like, especially when those other schools doing that, you can also bring that up to the university and say, hey, you don't want to be too late on this
Right.
because if you're seeing slow to this, you're not seeing that technology, like you're being technologically like sustainable or like
Yeah.
saying, hey, we're behind in times. Like you want every university to be on the forefront because they want to have potential recruitment because that's another big thing they look for. So if you could spin it off on how to recruit people, it's a very great way to get the university on board. But it's a little difficult up here to get them on board with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I've heard the struggle. I mean, it's only starting to get a thing in United States. So and
Yeah,
some schools, some even big schools, still aren't really onto it. Michigan are still kind of yeah,
yeah,
and Michigan's
yeah.
like one of the biggest schools.
Like I know Toronto. I think they only have one scholarship thing too. So it's like
Yeah.
they're kind of getting there, but it's like yeah, in Canada, other than like the West, there isn't really much over here in the East
Do you
helping
have
out with varsity.
do you have support from the community and like any clubs or anything like that?
Oh yeah, we have a huge League of Legends club here at Ottawa. Like we have a ton of viewing events for stuff. Well, yeah, we have a NALCS finals viewing party on the 8th, and then we also have in-house tournaments and all that. And like we're actually getting like even without like just clubs and all that, we're getting like companies and like interested in our like collegiate stuff because they're saying, hey, we're successful. They're saying, hey, we can back that this brand exposure in that way. So there's like a lot of areas that if the university sees like, hey, even these businesses are investing into this, like why can't we invest into it?
So this is an interesting one. So you're kind of since you guys almost have virtually actually like you said absolutely no support from the school. How do you go about presenting that to them? Because I mean, it sounds like obviously you have a community there. Even sponsors looking at you guys, like corporations looking at you guys. How do you bring that? How do you present that to your school to just convince them? Because I mean, that's really the biggest line in the
Yeah.
sand that has yet to be completely crossed that a lot of
Yeah.
people are trying.
A lot of it comes down to showing like the potential of esports and what it can do within like the community and how it's actually going to become a very big sport within the world. And if you can show that it's going to be an asset to the school, that's like one of the biggest things schools look for. How is this going to help better them in the long run? So if you can show them that esports is something here to stay and that it'll help enrollment, because that's honestly, that's a lot of what the schools like care about is enrollment. So if you can show that, hey, this is going to increase enrollment when you show that there's a great community for varsity esports and just esports in general, like people will choose other schools over other ones that don't support it.
Sure. Yeah. So let's take a step back from the grand picture of things. Let's focus more on. Let's go back to focusing a little bit on Ottawa. Still have a little bit of time, so I'd like to ask some questions more about just your coaching tactics and just things like that. Are there any coaches that you respect around within the collegiate world, not just Eastern, but looking at the whole collegiate atmosphere? Because right now, I know you're focused. Obviously, I mean, you have to focus
Oh,
strictly on
people that I
East.
respect.
Yeah.
Well, I literally only know of one other coach's name, and because I hear it all the time, is Drake Porter. I listen to his podcast 24/7. There's never the end of Drake Porter. So, like,
Yeah.
if I could say any coach, I think from what he's done, yeah, I could respect that. He's a great coach, and he's like proven it.
Fair enough. Now, with that being said, you're obviously looking to be, one of those role models as well. Maybe in a different light. Maybe not as controversial on Twitter. That is for sure. Uh,
Yeah,
do you? So you're gonna have years after this year. Is that correct?
yeah, I should have 2 more years
So,
in coaching for the team.
so this is just the beginning for
Oh yeah,
for you. So that's actually really exciting. So might be
yeah.
seeing Ottawa again next year. We are. I said we had a little bit of time. That's really all I had was a little bit of time. Was there anything closing you want to say? Any shout outs you want to give or anything else you wanted to address?
Other than thanking the team for putting up such a great season, and I wanna call out Weston. I want to see a great series coming up. I
Yeah.
don't want no 3-0. I just want actually no, I want a 3-0 for us, but I want a good series, and I hope you guys put it up.
Yeah, for sure.
but
Actually, that is one thing. Actually, New York and the East has produced some really fun games, the ones that have been broadcasted thus far. So I do have faith in you guys to, if anything, make it very entertaining. I can't obviously, I'm not going to say who I want to win or anything like that, but
yeah,
yeah, I do. So I want to say good luck to you and thank you so much for being on the show, Trent. I wish we had more time to get more of
yeah,
your perspective because there's so much on the East that we've left
oh yeah,
untouched. But hopefully, I'll be doing this again. Well, actually, I'm going to be keep doing this through the play-ins. So maybe I'll have you back on if you go through the championships or into play. You're obviously going to go to one of those,
yeah,
but have you back on sometime soon. Thank you so much for being on
yeah.
here.
Thank you for having me.
No problem, man. And once again, good luck in your finals.
Thank you.
No problem, man. All right, so that was Trent Schwartz. Nice guy, insightful for the Eastern Conference. Obviously, again, I haven't done as much with the Eastern Conference as I'd like, but it is something I want to get more into, especially once we get into the play-ins and the championships, because there's only a couple more. Was it the 30th? Only a couple more weeks left for the actual main conference to play their last playoff, their finals. And after that, it will be play-ins and then championships. Play-ins, the Collegiate Star League will be covering. Collegiate Star League being partly me, so I will be covering some of that. That is going to be exciting. And I do look forward, no matter who goes in there, because the Big Ten will also be into the play-ins as well. The winners of the Big Ten will go into the play-ins. I believe the top two winners, so OSU and Illinois, are undefeated right now, looking to cement themselves. And they actually play, I believe it's next week. They play next Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I believe. So that'll be very exciting. But first, we're actually going to get through some conference playoffs. So we're actually going to start with the East Conference because that's who I just talked to, was somebody from the East Conference, Ottawa University, University of Ottawa, I should say. Reverse that. Trent Schwartz, he's the coach for that team. He's going to be taking on the Western Purple team from London, Ontario. And that will be again. It's going to be. I don't know if the time is specifically set. We haven't gotten a time scheduled to broadcast yet. We'll get to that whenever we do. Of course, you can check that out on Twitter, which I will give a shout out to later on in this broadcast. But just to get a little bit of background on those teams, both of them beat their respective opponents to get to the finals. A 3-1. Western Purple beat New York University 3-1. Ottawa beat Waterloo 3-1 as well. Both have similar roads coming in here. Of course, I talked about Ottawa to take on Carnegie Mellon and Waterloo, who both those teams are mainstays in the Eastern Conference and looked at to be powerhouses kind of, but little bit of different shift in power this year, again, with Toronto being absent from the last year's roster and actually already being eliminated by New York University. So that is shaking things up a bit. We see Ottawa, Western Purple stepping up to fill that power. So that is going to be very interesting. And yeah, I do want to do more coverage on the Eastern. Actually, I want to do coverage on all the conferences, but definitely Eastern and Southern because I feel like those are lacking a little bit. And speaking of Southern Conference, let's go ahead and go over to there real quick. Southern playoffs is going to be George Mason versus University of Texas Dallas. George Mason beat Texas A&M 3-1. Very exciting games. Go check that one out. UT Dallas and UT Austin. Actually, UT Dallas beat UT Austin 3-0. I actually thought Austin would give up a little bit more of a fight. I thought that was going to be a very competitive series. Go to game number 5, but UT Dallas just wanted to prove everyone wrong and shut people up and just get to the final. So congratulations to UT Dallas. Again, George Mason had a very exciting game against Texas A&M, but overall just had better macro. I actually did cast that game, had the pleasure of casting that one. That was an incredible game, especially game number 4. Very exciting. Go check that one out, of course, on our YouTube, youtube.com/CStarLeague. You can also check out the previous Word Up shows if you wanted to do that. But UT Dallas, like I said, looking very strong. That was actually broadcasted there. You can go look at that on our YouTube as well. They're looking extremely strong. 3-0 in again, UT Austin. So they're looking very, very, very clean going into the finals. So the momentum is definitely in their favor. George Mason actually faltered a little bit in their games, but again, the macro play ended up prevailing for them. And this is also worth noting. This is one of the first times that Texas A&M are not in the finals, so it's going to be a lot different of an outcome as it has been in previous years. But again, that's the same thing with the East too. The East. I mean, Toronto. I don't think 2 years ago they were as big of a threat, but last year. Again, Toronto dominated Ottawa and Western Purple. I know Ottawa dropped in the quarterfinals and last couple of years possibly. definitely last year. And Western Purple, I'm not even sure where their status was last year. But so with that being said, it is going to be quite a shakeup in the South and Eastern region. But over on the West, though, kind of a status quo here outside of UBC not being in there, but one of them had to go, SFU or UBC. We'll talk about that in 1 second here. So it is going to be in the Western playoffs, playoff finals. University of California Irvine versus Simon Fraser University. Simon Fraser, they beat UBC 2-3. UBC almost beat SFU, which is extremely scary for for SFU. They had a bye, and you have to wonder if maybe they got a little bit of rust in that quarterfinal bye. They had to take a week off and meet UBC in the quarterfinal. Sorry, in the semifinals. UBC, based on the way SFU were playing, UBC should not have been that big of a threat, but ended up taking 2 games off of them. So congratulations to UBC. I don't think they have anything to be ashamed of here. And if they stay with the same roster, should be very powerful next year. Meanwhile, UCI, they 3-0'd University of California San Diego Tritons. UCI have been looking incredible all year, except for the time that SFU 3-0'd them, or 2-0'd them. Actually, it was best of 3 in the. It was best of 3 in the Swiss brackets. SFU 2-0'd them in the Swiss matchup. So that's why it's so interesting, because UBC they haven't been looking as strong as they were the previous years, and they came out looking extremely strong against SFU, and again almost took the the semifinals against them. But UCI, they want revenge against SFU, and SFU obviously they're going to be working on their mistakes, but they do look to be faltering just a little bit. So that's going to be very exciting. And of course, North is always going to be exciting as well. This is Maryville University versus Columbia College. We talked about Drake Porter in the interview with Trent. Obviously, he is the most notorious coach, probably in collegiate League of Legends, but definitely in the Northern region, Northern Conference. So this is going to be a rematch from before, Maryville University versus Columbia College. Maryville University beat University of Manitoba 3-0, and then it's worth noting here that University of Manitoba were undefeated going into that game, undefeated in the entire collegiate League of Legends college law brackets circuit so far. So big win for Maryville University. Prototype is back onto the ADC role. Cat God into the back into the mid lane. Very comfortable positions for them. West Coast carry down on the bot side, just going by West now. And of course, Sasuke on the top lane. Interesting though, in the jungle was not Chody Walrus. It was Cat Ears. And something I haven't really touched on is that Chody Walrus, he's actually playing 2 collegiate games right now. He's playing CSGO, Counter-Strike Global Offensive for Maryville University, as well as Collegiate League of Legends. So I'm not really sure where they're putting Chody at as far as priority of which games. But from my understanding, he's doing well in CSGO. Somebody don't quote me on that, but that is from my understanding that he is doing well in CSGO, and that's just more scholarship money, more attention to Maryville University. So if they can flex it, might as well flex it. That's what's happening here. And I do want to, again, point out that this is going to be a rematch from the Swiss brackets, because Columbia College stopped Maryville University earlier in the season, but it is worth noting that Cat God was actually on the ADC role. Prototype was out, and the Wolf's Claw was subbing in for Cat God. Sorry, I couldn't get his name out. Cat God. So not quite the the Super Saiyan level Maryville that we're used to seeing. This match should be Super Saiyan level Maryville. Very anxious to see if Cat Ears is going to be in the jungle, or if that's going to be Chody Walrus in the jungle. Either one. Cat Ears didn't do a bad job at whatsoever. Let's keep that in mind. Cat Ears seemed like he fit very well into the Maryville roster, and it's worth noting that Cat Ears is a freshman, so he has a very bright future ahead of him, and getting him more experience, especially if he's going to be filling a role in the jungle, will just strengthen Maryville's flex picks or flex roles for next year. Very excited to see this Northern final. But moving on, there is actually, of course, CSL. We are doing JV, the junior varsity. Everything I have been talking about almost strictly all season has been varsity. CSL, we are doing junior varsity, and our finals are going to be on April 26th through 29th at Huntington Beach, California. Now, of course, with me covering varsity, I don't have a super in-depth knowledge of junior varsity yet. Of course, I will be gathering that whenever my time with varsity is over. But I have been keeping light tabs through various sources. Drake Hero, one of our social media guys over on CSL, he's been helping me out with that. So thank you very much for that. But some of the teams to watch out for, coincidentally, Columbia College, their silver team, which I believe is coached by former varsity mid laner Hollywood. He's actually been doing a great job over there with the junior varsity team, grooming everybody for the varsity role whenever that role does come available. So Columbia College Silver, they're looking really good right now. Penn State also looking great, which is good because Penn State Big Ten not looking so great. So you got to have some kind of compromise there. And of course, Carleton College looking great as well. And this is something I really love about things like junior varsity, where you have teams you might not have heard of before, because Carleton Junior Varsity doing great. Carleton varsity team, don't really know where they're at. They might even be in the Timo Cup. I'll get to the Timo Cup in a moment. Obviously, you do see it over there on the topic bracket, but yeah, this is one of the biggest things I love about collegiate gaming, collegiate League of Legends, is that there are so many different teams at various levels that it allows us to put shine on some colleges when sometimes in normal circumstances where you're just focusing on varsity, you wouldn't be able to do that. But since we're also focusing on junior varsity as well, Carleton, they get a little bit of a shout out as well. So Carleton College, they're doing really well, advanced on I believe onto the round 4. Most of the teams are still in round 3. Carleton, they did get an advance on to round 4, so congratulations to them. Columbia College, Penn State, though, 2 teams to definitely watch out for. And of course, I will be doing more studying as the month goes on of April. We get closer to that April 26th spot of the CSL Junior Varsity Finals. Going to be very exciting over Huntington Beach, California. Last topic, though. Normally, I do upcoming games. We haven't got solidified schedule yet. And as a result, I'm not going to talk about it because I don't want to give false information. Of course, you can keep up on our Twitter about all that, and I'll give that out in just a moment as well. But do want to talk about Timo Cup for a moment. We haven't really covered that very much because some people don't really consider it very serious, but it is still a way for teams to practice, especially if they're going to be here next year with the same roster. Practice at the end of the year, you can have a little bit of fun. It's not to be taken super serious. They're all best of 3, and all the teams are actually in the finals, and only one of them has actually been determined thus far. So there's 3 groups. Group 1. It's going to be Baruch versus Villanova. I may have pronounced that wrong. But either way, neither team has dropped a game thus far. So both of them looking very good. And I also want to emphasize that this is not for cash. These are for Riot points. So any of the winners and runners-up will be getting Riot points as their reward for winning the Timo Cup. As just one of the things with Timo Cup. Now, Group 2, though, is already been decided. Texas Tech University, they're looking great. They beat Missouri Baptist 2-1. And it's the only game that Texas Tech has actually dropped. So Platypus can go out on a little bit of a high note in the mid lane. That is their mid laner, and give him something to hold in front of himself. He's going to buy himself some skins, or I would assume by this point his League of Legends career that has all the champions. So it's good to have Riot points for skins because swag is fun. So congratulations, Texas Tech. You guys won Group 2 of the Timo Cup. And over on Group 3, it is going to be Blue Vinny versus UC Davis, University of California Davis. And Blue Vinny, if no one knows, that is DePaul University. I believe they're based out of Chicago. And neither team has dropped a game thus far. So that is actually going to be very exciting for those teams because, like Group 1, neither team have dropped. Might be something we might keep up on. We also do broadcast Timo games every now and then when we don't have the varsity games to keep up with because, again, all the teams are in the finals right now. There's only 4 games we can really cast, and coordinating all that have to really work with everyone's schedule. Some teams are on spring break right now. I believe Columbia College is on spring break right now, so that they're going to have to go into a game possibly with very little practice. I'm sure they are going to get on their home computers and play however they need to if they have to practice. But be it as it may, that's how the schedule falls, and that's why we might not have games this weekend. We'll keep you updated. Of course, you can keep updated with us on Twitter at twitter.com/cstarleague, twitter.com/CSLLOL, and of course my personal Twitter, twitter.com/Fequez, PHEQES. I'll also be retweeting everything that C Star League and CSL LOL does tweet in regards to Collegiate League of Legends. Other than that, I'm actually ending a minute short, so I'm going to ramble for 1 second. Might as well give more sponsors, more plugins. Of course, facebook.com/CStarLeague. Go follow us there. I did talk about it earlier, youtube.com/CStarLeague. Go check out all of our VODs, past word ups, past quads. You can also check out any of the past games that have been played or games that are going to be coming up. We will be putting it on there. Go check it out, youtube.com/CStarLeague. And of course, want to give a shout out to Twitch. They've been helpful in growing the collegiate esports scene for years now, and they're still going, and we wouldn't be here without them. So thank you very much, Twitch, twitter.com/Twitch, and facebook.com/Twitch. But other than that, my name is Joshua Fekes Quest. I believe that's everything for now. It's a very easy Friday. It's getting down to the nitty gritty. Until plans happen, it's just going to be the finals. Other than that, once again, thank you, Trent Schwartz, giving some insight onto the Eastern region. Eastern Conference, and good luck to your game or to your final game here coming up within the next week. But yeah, that's it. I'm going to sign off. Thank you for joining me, folks. Have a great day. I'll be back same time next week, Friday, 6 p.m. daylight time. I'll also be at Columbia College, actually broadcasting Midwest Campus Clash. So I will be having a pre-recorded word up next week. So hopefully that goes well. But if not, I'll be back the week after. Thank you for joining me this week, though. Bye bye.